Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. As a follow-up to the red heifer and the ashes that are required, I thought I would do a what is video about the ashes specifically and what the Bible speaks of them. So this is from gotquestions.org, and the explanation is great. No need to rewrite this one, and it may give you a greater understanding of what exactly the purification is about, what it's symbolizing in the Jewish faith, and why it's significant. And this will give you a greater understanding of the purpose of the red heifer and the ashes. So what is the significance of the red heifer in the Bible is the question. According to the Bible, the red heifer, a reddish-brown cow, probably no more than 2 years, and of course you know that we've spoken of that, which has never had a yoke on it, was to be sacrificed as part of the purification rites of this Mosaic Law. So the slaughtering of a red heifer was ceremonial ritual in the Old Testament sacrificial system. So this is something that Jesus fulfilled. He fulfilled the Old Testament by his death and resurrection. He took place of all the sacrifices, but of course the Jews don't recognize Jesus Christ as Messiah yet. So they're still doing the sacrifices they think is required to cover their sin. When they recognize Jesus as Messiah, they won't need a temple, they won't need the sacrifices, because Jesus was that sacrifice. He fulfilled that. But, of course, they don't recognize him yet, so they're still doing this. So it says, the purpose of the red heifer sacrifice was to provide for the water of cleansing, another term for the purification from sin. So again, the covering, the purification of garments from the sin. After the red heifer was sacrificed, her blood was sprinkled at the door of the tabernacle. So here's the symbolism here. The imagery of the blood of the heifer without blemish being sacrificed and its blood cleansing from sin is foreshadowing the blood of Christ shed on the cross for the believer's sin. Now the Jews believe that the Messiah is still yet to come. They don't believe he came 2,000 years ago. They're still waiting for him, so they're still doing these sacrifices. And they understand that this foreshadows the Messiah. They don't understand yet, however, that the Messiah came. They rejected him 2,000 years ago. He was without blemish, speaking of Jesus, just as the red heifer was to be. As the heifer was sacrificed outside the camp, in the same way Jesus was crucified outside Jerusalem. And so Jesus also suffered outside the city gate to make the people holy through his own blood. And so that's what they're attempting to do. It says the Bible does not, the Bible does teach that one day there will be again be a temple of God in Jerusalem. And this is what Ezekiel speaks of. Jesus prophesied that the Antichrist would desecrate the temple. You know I've spoken of this. Matthew 24 speaks of that. And for that to occur, there obviously would be a temple in Jerusalem once again. Many anticipate that the birth of the red heifer, because in order for a new temple to function according to the Old Testament, which is what the Jews still recognize. They don't recognize Jesus Christ and his death on the cross yet. In order for the new temple to function, according to Old Testament, the red heifer would have to be sacrificed for the water of cleansing used in the temple. So it's required for the water of cleansing before the priest can do the other sacrifices. So when a red heifer is born, which is quite unusual, actually a red heifer being born is not unusual necessarily, but the perfect red heifer, the unblemished red heifer, is unusual. It might be a sign that the temple will soon be rebuilt. So this is the answer from gotquestions.org. And that's exactly what we're talking about. So watch the previous video today where I spoke of Ariel, the rabbi, suggesting that they have, from the Temple Institute, that they have these red heifers. These are born, and they're expecting something in 2 years, which ends up being the year 2021, which I think is the start of the 7-year tribulation. So we're on a very interesting timeline now. This is the countdown. We're speaking. In 2 years, I think we can start speaking in months now. We're potentially 24 months, maybe less, away from the rebuilding of the third temple. That's where I think we're at. Remember, if you're a Christian, you know that Jesus Christ died and rose again 2,000 years ago. He fulfilled the Old Testament, so we don't need a third temple. We don't need sacrifices, but the Jews never did recognize the Messiah, so they're under the assumption that they need sacrifices to cover their sin, and so they're working adamantly towards that, as is the Temple Institute. They are wrong, but this is Bible prophecy, which God said would happen in the last days, a third temple. He wrote of it. He spoke of the future in the prophetic scriptures, and he said there would be a third temple built. He described the Antichrist, the abomination of desolation, in the third temple. So this is what we expect to see coming. This is what is coming. And so this is your what is video for the day. What is the red heifer and the ashes of the red heifer? What's significant for? Well, for the purification, for the water of purification, that is a requirement for the third temple sacrifices to begin. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll leave it there, and we'll see you guys in the next video.